moving off impulse. Moving off impulse is the equivalent of sitting in the car with your mother or your auntie, your big mama, your grandmother, and telling them you want McDonald's, and them telling you that you got McDonald's at the house. Moving off of impulse is the equivalent to riding in the car with your big mama or your moms and telling them you want McDonald's or Burger King or whatever it is, and they tell you that they got it at the house. This means your ambitions to exist, your ambition to exist for a moment gives you the insight into our effort is a reflection of our interest. As I set us up for the build, Grand Rising, Divine Rise, blessed be to the day when we embrace the aspects of our moon day. It's all about investing into that change. I'm going to say what I said earlier, just one more time. Moving off of emotional impulse. Moving off of emotional impulse is like sitting in the car with your grandmother, your moms, your pops, whoever, and literally saying you want McDonald's, and they say you got McDonald's at the house. This means that being driven off of emotion will always eventually leave you in a position the way you can't advance. You have nothing else to say. You can't build in it. And that leads to the aspects of interaction. You know, every day we get into these gate cards. This is that gate talk. Today's card is the Marian Maiden. The Marian Maiden is in the aspects of interaction in its mundane social context, but also one's mystical and cosmic relationships. Transformation is possible through the mastering of our instincts. Ambition in that shell for yourself and your growth is going to be based upon your drive to rise up, your drive to go into your frequency, being in that new space of yourself, going into that healing process, and becoming more aware. The more aware that you become, the more selective you become of what's around you. You can't lose yourself. You can't lose yourself until you have first found yourself. So just think about that aspect when you coming into your day and you investing into the changes of your day. You can never lose yourself until you have first found yourself. That's why when most people are like, I found somebody I never want to lose again, it's myself. So let's take that deep thought into the aspects of the selectivity, how you magnetize things to you, the aspects of your enlightenment, coming into the balance of that endarkenment. That means being in that darkness, allowing yourself to come to that space to create that new light. This is going to give us the aspects of what is influencing our moves. What's influencing us? What is the influence? Is our influence based on the emotional aspect? Is it based on, are we motivated by the emotional? Are we motivated by, ooh, I have to do this because this is something that serves this purpose at this moment in time? Or is it something that's going to help me get deeper into myself, get deeper into my works, come deeper into the aspects of my growth for myself? Everything you're looking at based on that interaction, when you're interacting and marrying your energy, or putting your energy into these spaces, this is when you become more aware and more selective, that every time you go into a space, you are putting your energy into that space. You are sharing your energy. Remember, it's a big-ass energy share. So wherever you put your energy at, wherever you're sitting at, remember, your energy is being used into that space. So if you have remember we were talking about for the last couple of weeks, the aspects of doubt, You have the aspects of embarrassment. You got the aspect of feeling self-conscious. When you go into a certain space, those are the markers that are going to come up in that space. Oh, you feel like you're in a state of doubt. You feel like you feel guilty about something. Oh, I feel like I'm embarrassed. Peace and peace and peace. You feel like I'm in this. Guess what's going to happen? The space you're going to go in is going to give you the reason, because that's how your ego's working. It's going to give you a reason to be embarrassed. It's going to give you a reason to feel self-conscious. It's going to give you the reason that you have desire. This is the aspects of you being really aware with your energy. It's going to give you exactly what you desire, exactly what is required for you to create within that space. This is when you have to understand when that emotional trigger come up. How do I deal with this situation? How do I better myself in this situation that I'm in, that I've now bonded myself to? It's a lot deeper than for a lot of us when we come into the social aspect. And we don't get into this deeper throughout the week. That social construct or that social awkwardness, especially coming into your hermit phase, you cannot skip the hermit phase. You can't skip the hermit phase. So I'm going to give an example for myself. Like when I first actually started coming into my space, coming into my frequency, coming into my charge, coming into my healing process. I remember going out and it was different. When the last time that I went out in that space, it was like I knew it was over. I knew the conversations that I had within that space with my brothers at that time. Like the last conversation I had with each one of my brothers, I gave them the same spill. I said, when you're ready to, and one of my brothers wanted to invest into do a food truck type of thing. I was like, whenever you're ready to learn about a business plan, go through the aspects of learning funding and all of those things, holla at me. Simple and plain, simple and direct, set the intention. The next conversation that we are going to have is going to be based on this, or we're not really going to have the conversation. I didn't realize that I was doing it at the time, but I was actually moving in. I wasn't moving on impulse. I was moving in the space of responding to inform. Responding to inform. That's one of the major keys when you coming into connections. It's response to inform, or to respond to get that information in. When you're moving in that emotional impulse or that impulse narrative, it's based on the reaction. You're now stuck in this. You're stuck in that momentum of the reaction. So you're bonding to this based on the reaction of that guilt, the reaction of that self-confidence, the longing for a connection, the longing for something, and the longing for something that you feel that's missing. You end up putting yourself in this space where you're replacing elements. A lot of us come into that space where we're replacing elements. We took out one element. We took out what we dealt with over here, and now we're going to replace it with another element over here. I'm going to take, okay, cool, like I'm in hermit mode. I'm going in my hermit stage. So this friendship and this relationship and this over here, now that I'm going out of it, now there's an empty space. My natural impulse is to fill that space. Your natural impulse is to fill that space. Fill it with something that's where you at. But this is the aspect of your drive. This is the aspects when it comes into your ambition and your drive. Now that you're coming into this healed space with yourself, you're going to start noticing that what is driving you may not be right for the frequency of where you're trying to get to. This is when it becomes important to define where you're trying to go to. Define that energy that you're trying to go to. Define in yourself what you're trying to break that captivity from, that captivity monologue. Because a lot of us come into this space and I've gotten stuck in captivity just even in the higher aspects. Getting stuck in that captivity. That pillar of captivity. Wearing that mask of, well, if I do this, this, and this, then this is going to happen. Stuck in the law of reoccurrence. Stuck in the law of accidents. When we understand that an accident is simply based on the information or the variables that were at play in that space. So if I know the variable If I know the one constant variable for myself is me being in that space, and I remove myself from there, the same thing may happen. The same thing may reoccur, but I'm not there anymore. This is me being aware of my impulses. This is me being aware of that environment. It doesn't fit me. It's okay for you to outgrow spaces. The thing as you're outgrowing, the next step for you as you're outgrowing and you're accepting that you outgrowing certain spaces is to start filling your space first with yourself. Everything that you're doing in the beginning steps of your shadow work, the beginning steps of peeling back those layers, it's all about understanding, becoming self-aware. That's the acknowledgement phase. That's the whole acknowledgement phase. You haven't even you're not going to jump into that acceptance phase. The acceptance phase is based on the aspects of the building, what I needed to learn within that space. Then you get into that apologies phase, that forgiveness phase with yourself. I'm sorry that I put you through this. Like you looking at yourself in the mirror for like 15, 20 minutes a day. I'm sorry that we went through that, but it was something that we had to learn. I am now accepting the lesson that I learned in this space, and now we're going to move forward. You have to have that powerful talk with yourself. It's simply more than just speaking a mantra to yourself. I am beautiful, I am divine. Why are you beautiful? What makes you divine? You're defining that energy within yourself. You're being selective of the words. The more selective you are in the open and honest monologue you have with yourself, the more you're going to start noticing you're going to have that very same monologue externally. We've done that shit unconsciously for so long in that buildup of the impulse. We wait for something to build up and then we let it all come out. But then if something's out of balance, throat chakra's out of balance, you'll be afraid to say what you need to say. And if you do say it, you'll still feel the guilt of saying what you said. Once you say it, it's already been said. All you can do is, you're in the now. We're in this now mode. Investing into my change. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, it sounded kind of heartless. It sounded cold. But I had to set the tone of where I'm going now. There's so many spaces just for myself, and like just in the last 3 years, that I've came into a different aspect of change with myself. How I loan my energy out, when I loan it out, how I allow withdrawals. The aspects of me coming into that healthier space with myself, having those conversations with myself. What am I building in my space? What is my intention? What is my interest in my intention being surrounded by? You can drown yourself by trying to keep that old narrative around you so you feel safe. The worst thing you can do is die. And we understand that you need the aspects of death in order for you to be reborn. You got to be empty before you can fulfill yourself. Before you come into that space of that true abundance with yourself and align into that space, you got to work on what you're already abundant in. Because you're abundant in this aspect of, you got an abundance of trauma. Now to remove, in order for you to become abundant in the process, abundant in that higher aspect, you got to remove the abundances of traumas and everything that the trauma gave you. Accept the benefit. This is you coming into that duality. Breaking the aspects of the pillars of captivity. Pillars of captivity. This week's episode on the God Hour podcast, we're going to be getting into your captivity is only greater than your capacity to master self. Your captivity, what you're stuck in, is only greater than if you are not willing to put that energy or shift that energy into your mastering yourself. Doing what is needed in the honesty, doing what is needed in that vulnerability, in that opening up yourself. Allowing yourself to sit in that space and really let it hit you. Allowing yourself to evolve. Being more aware of that space. And that's what we're getting into this week on the God Hour podcast. Also, had some other announcements. Stay tuned, the Secret Society is coming. But also, I want to see you be fucking great. I want to see you become the best. I want to see you shine brighter than you ever shined before, because I desire that for myself. If you have issues with cutting cords, you have issues with letting go, you have those issues with why I can't let go of this, or why I can't seem to discipline myself, that's what I'm here for. GodaCodeAlchemistLLC.com. Everything from readings, natal chart analysis, human design chart analysis, the shadow work consultation, where we get into the aspects of what you need at this moment in time, what you got to let go of, what you have to accept, what you got to forgive, what you got to release, what you are about to learn, where you're going to find that healing and recovery, and of course where you're going to get that help. It's always in the internal aspects of you. I want you to be the fucking best. I want you to start really looking at your energy. Greetings. I really want you to start looking at your energy outside of the emotional aspect. I want you to start looking at your energy outside of that emotional aspect. Allowing those impulses to drive you, and then you sitting there mad because it keeps telling you that you got it at the house. Because that's what it is, moving off impulse. It's like you sitting in the car and you say, Grandma, I want McDonald's, or Mom, I want McDonald's, and she tell you you got it at the house. All you can sit there is be mad because it's at the house. Where's your house? Is your house in order? I want you to be the fucking best. But yeah, once again, God Hour Podcast, Pillars of Captivity. Y'all stay tuned for that. If you're interested in a reading, services, gotta call Alchemist to hit me in the inbox. Schedule that appointment today. Book it today. And may the day be everything you desire, or rather everything you require to create everything you desire. Today is the day that you embrace investing in the change to move forward. I love you. We love us. Ashe.